While my parents lived in luxury, I had nothing. They deceitfully stole my inheritance after my grandmother's death. Each year, they give me a $50 Walmart gift card and act like that is enough. Meanwhile, they buy several luxury cars for themselves and take expensive vacations in places like the Maldives. I live in a cramped apartment, worried about how I will afford groceries and rent. I cannot even afford a phone, so I have to borrow one from my neighbor whenever I need to make a call. Every day I remember how my grandmother used to smile and promise that she would always take care of me. She owned a beautiful house, had some savings, and even collected rare jewelry from her travels. She once told me that she planned to leave me something special so I would always have security. But after her funeral, my parents announced that my grandmother had actually left almost nothing behind. Since I was only 19 at the time, I did not know enough about legal matters to challenge them. Year after year, I heard stories from friends of the family that my parents were lying. They said that my grandmother had mentioned giving me a large part of her estate, but whenever I asked my parents about it, they brushed me off. "Don't question us," they would say. "Be grateful for what you have." Then they would drive away in a shiny new car or post pictures from another tropical vacation. I felt powerless, clinging to the hope that one day I could learn the truth. One day, everything changed. My parents went on yet another cruise, sailing across the Caribbean for 2 weeks. I stayed at home, earning a small income by cleaning offices during late nights. One afternoon, a letter arrived in the mail. My heart skipped a beat when I saw the front of the envelope. It had no return address, only my name in a single warning: "Do not open when they are around." My parents were far away on their cruise, so I felt safe tearing it open right away. Inside, there was a handwritten note that began, "Hey Mary, this is your real aunt, Elizabeth." My hands shook as I read on. I had never heard of an Aunt Elizabeth before, and my parents had never mentioned anyone by that name. But the writing was clear and the words felt honest. She explained that she was my grandmother's youngest daughter, born from a marriage that happened years before my parents were even around. She said that my grandmother had always wanted to stay in touch with her, but my parents cut off all contact. According to Aunt Elizabeth's letter, my grandmother had carefully written a will, leaving me a substantial amount of money and property. She wanted to ensure that I would have a safe future, free from financial struggles. But when my grandmother passed away, my parents used their connections, false documents, and possibly bribery to make it look like there was hardly any inheritance. They took everything that should have been mine and used it for their own luxury. My aunt wrote that she had proof, legal papers, old letters, and even a witness who had helped write the original will. I read the letter several times, each word burning into my mind. I felt a whirlwind of emotions: anger at my parents for betraying me, sadness that my grandmother's wishes had been ignored, and a spark of hope that maybe I could claim what was rightfully mine. Aunt Elizabeth included a phone number and an address, asking me to meet her if I wanted to uncover the truth. She had been afraid to contact me sooner because of my parents' powerful influence, but now she felt it was time. At first, I did not know what to do. Should I call the number and risk my parents' wrath if they found out? What if this aunt was not who she claimed to be? I thought about the situation for a few days, staring at the letter each night in my small, dimly lit apartment. I realized that my current life offered me no chance to break free from poverty. If there was even a small chance Aunt Elizabeth was telling the truth, I had to find out. So I borrowed my neighbor's phone and called the number. A woman picked up on the second ring. She spoke softly, as though she feared being overheard. Once I introduced myself, she sounded relieved. "Mary, thank you for calling," she said. "I've waited years for this moment." We talked for half an hour, and she told me stories about my grandmother's kindness, her love for me, and her heartbreak over my parents' greed. Aunt Elizabeth promised to show me the original will and help me hire a trustworthy lawyer. After I hung up, my hands trembled. I felt a mixture of excitement and fear. The next morning, I packed a small bag and took the bus to the address Aunt Elizabeth provided. It was a 4-hour ride, the bus swaying and rattling on the highway. During the journey, my mind kept playing scenes of my parents celebrating on that cruise ship, while I struggled for every penny. When I arrived, Aunt Elizabeth stood on the porch of a cozy older house. She looked a bit like my grandmother, with warm brown eyes and a gentle smile. She hugged me tight, tears in her eyes, telling me how sorry she was that I had gone through so much suffering. Once inside, she showed me the documents, the real will, signed by my grandmother, along with several letters describing her wishes for my future. It was all there, in black and white, proving that my parents had lied. Tears of anger and relief streamed down my face. A sense of power and purpose washed over me. I was determined to fight for my grandmother's legacy and expose my parents' dishonesty. Aunt Elizabeth offered me a place to stay, and she even knew a lawyer who specialized in inheritance disputes. In that moment, I felt as though I finally had an ally, a real chance to stand up for myself. Now I stand on the brink of a new chapter in my life. I know it will not be easy. My parents have money and connections. They will likely deny everything and try to spin the story in their favor. But for the first time in years, I believe I can break free from the grip they have on me. So I have a question for you. If you discovered that your parents had stolen your rightful inheritance and built their own lavish life upon it, would you risk everything to expose them? Or would you walk away and start fresh without the battle?